These are turbulent times.
Rhaenyra is coming. You are no longer safe here.
Harry, to start with you, could you explain Jace's decision to lock up Rhaenyra and fight in her place? Is it he doesn't want her to risk her life, or he fears how she might be in battle?
I think a bit of both. I think he knows that his mother is very, very capable of certain things, but I think that the crown is too good to lose, and I think he knows that he couldn't go on without her. And I think he thinks that she could go on without him, as much as it would be hard. But I think, it wasn't done hatefully. It was all done for protection, and he loves her very, very much. And he'll go and do everything in his power to keep her safe. Even though that's not really his job, he just feels like that, and which I think is quite mature of him. But obviously, it didn't work out in his favour. But I feel like he would be happy knowing that he was a very good sacrifice for his mother, and that if it happened to him, there's a possibility and a chance that it could have happened to her that day. So I feel like he'll be very happy with his decision.
But I think there's something kind of interesting at play where, I think his death is in part tragic because you can't blame a teenager for being a teenager. And, rebellion is the occupation of teenagers. And on the other hand, Rhaenyra has been prevented from action for 2 seasons, and to have that happen in sort of the most acute way, to be locked in, which is also a sort of crazy act of infantilization under the kind of it's like it's presented as an act of kind of care and protection, but you could also describe it as an act of control. And Rhaenyra has become very, very familiar, I think, with having her action controlled by sort of male colleagues and supposed allies. And so I think there's a lot to reckon with, both as a leader and as a political actor, and as a mother who was prevented from doing a parent's work in protecting their child.
Bethany, why does Baela follow him? She seems very loyal to Rhaenyra. Does she have similar feelings as Jace does about this?
No, actually. I think she knows this is a really stupid thing to do. And I think she loves Jace so much, and that his conviction in trying to explain his reasons for going convinced her just enough to sort of cloud her judgment. I think she knew from the off that this was too big for them. And as proud as she is of, their training and their dragon riding abilities, I think she can see very clearly that those dragons are a lot bigger than theirs, and that they've got a lot more years of experience. And that's just thinking about the dragons that they know of and are aware of, let alone any others that might have, appeared. And so I think she knew that this was too big for them. But his conviction was just so compelling. And she loves him so much that the thought of him going alone was worse than the thought of her not joining him. So,
do both of you think that Rhaena might feel like she's responsible for Jace's death, even if that's not necessarily accurate?
She absolutely should feel responsible.
She should feel responsible.
She should.
That's why I was flying low.
She should.
Being chased down by an untamed dragon that shouldn't be in the battle.
Oh, I guess our characters, I suppose Baela would see like both sides, and I think she would see the naivety and the youth, the innocence of youth that Rhaena has, and
Jace
the
would be very
impulsivity.
angry.
Jace would be fuming. But I think Baela would see her sister's impulsivity. And also, she's watched her struggle for a dragon for so many years, since they were children. Right back when they lived in Pentos, she's seen her, desperation to have a dragon. And I think despite the sadness and the anger, Baela, as a level-headed version of herself, would know that it was not meant with any malice and that it was just an accident.
But she did still impact it, so it's hard not to feel the anger about that, right?
Yeah.
And then, Harry, to wrap up with you, what was Jace thinking as each arrow hit him?
Whoa, what a question, yeah. I think the first one that hits him in the back, he's like, what was that? I feel like he's got so much adrenaline in him, it would be he wouldn't really feel it. It would just feel like someone's just nudged his shoulder. That's why he turns around and he's like, what was that? Then he probably sees many men aiming at him with arrows, and he's like, "Oh, this is bad. I don't want to die. This is I want to go home now." Second arrow hits. I think shock, anger, and just being a naive kid. I think he probably doesn't regret that he came here, but he was too young to die. I don't think he wanted to die, and then obviously the last one finishes him off. So didn't really have much thought after that. But yeah. God,
I made myself upset with this question. Olivia, to start with you, why do you think that Rhaenyra and Alicent trust each other and this plan to give Rhaenyra the Iron Throne?
I just think there's something in each other that is sort of preserved in Amber from when they were kids, and I think they're really trying to petition to that side of themselves. And that's all they've got to go off. I mean, Alicent doesn't really have any other cards to play, and so I think she's just, having faith that this will work and that she's gone through in some way. And I think that's the only way they can really square it away in their own minds,
Does Alicent really think she'll survive this plan of hers?
I think it's touch and go all the way through the first couple of episodes. I think she is really, she's literally fighting for her life in some instances. I don't think she knows, but she's dogged in trying.
Fabian, Criston is very dejected and defeatist after Rook's Rest. How has this changed his loyalty to the Hightowers, if at all?
I think his loyalty has never really been for the Hightowers. I think his loyalty's been to Alicent. I don't know if it's been so much to the Hightowers. I think it's been to Alicent, and I think it's been against Rhaenyra, more specifically than to a house. And I think, if anything, he's become more self-serving, which is hard to imagine a character like him becoming more self-serving than he already was. But his loyalty, I think, now is to his, to House Cole in a way.
Olivia, what is going through Alicent's mind when Aemond kisses her, and how does it make, compound her feelings of being a woman trapped in this patriarchal system?
Yeah, it's, I think it's, shocking. It's devastating. I think the wheels are turning for Alicent on how best to navigate this situation without hurting Aemond's very fragile sense of self and ego. And just, again, you don't want him to perceive it as a rejection. So she's just trying to remain as neutral as possible and hope for it to be over, as soon as possible. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and it is shocking and surprising, but ultimately kind of makes sense for Aemond to do. Do you think Alicent feels that way?
No, I don't. I think she's always known that there's something, that, I don't know, as he matured and became an adolescent and then grew up to be the person he is, there's been a missing link of some sort, but I don't know if she could have put her finger on what that was. She knows that he has become harder to sway and control and cajole. But I don't think she knew that it was because he had romantic feelings, I
mean, why would she?
Why
right?
would she?
Why would she?
Yeah.
Ewan, to start with you, does Aemond feel any regret for what he did to his brother?
I think definitely if he does, he's buried it, I think it's definitely buried somewhere deep inside in the dark, deep recesses that he just never wants to access again. Because, vulnerability, love is weakness in Aemond's eye. And he can't be seen as anyone who has that. He has to be seen as all strong and all knowing. I definitely do feel bad as Ewan for what Aemond did to Tom. To
Also,
Aegon.
Aemond's eye. I really
Yeah, I know.
appreciated you
So
doing that. Not in his eyes, in his eye.
in his eye.
And so going off of that, is his mother his weakness?
His mother is weakness. Again, even though like he'd never admit it, but yeah, I do believe that Alicent is because he loves her so much. You know, he loves her so much. She's probably one of the only people he loves that way. You know, in the show.
Yeah, and of course he kisses her, and it seems to be an intentionally romantic kiss. So explain why what makes him think that he should do that. Like, does he think that she wants that? What is going on?
Maybe not, since he brought it up, maybe he does think she wants a kiss on the lips. No.
In a twisted way, it's like he kind of, I mean, he leans in, and it seems like he's kind of testing the waters.
Yeah, she doesn't like run away, right? She's like, no. I think, Aemond, there's definitely something of an Oedipus complex there. I think growing up, he never felt like he had the love. Kids, they need like unconditional love to develop a balanced view of themselves, and Aemond, because he never had that, he's got a very skewed perception of what love is growing up. And he is always, searching and thriving for that maternal kind of figure in his life. He kind of, he thought he could find it in the Madame. It didn't work out. Vhagar, an older woman, she's a dragon. And so he's looking for it in other ways now. Yeah.
How much does his desire to make her happy inform his actions this season?
I think a lot of it does. I feel like Aemond genuinely wants to win the war so he can end up on a Dornish beach. That was always something that I always played in season 2. When I was looking at Alicent across the council table, I always had this vision in my head that Aemond and Alicent just pulled up on deck chairs by the sea, drinking pina coladas, far from war, after Aemond's finished it for them both. Because, she is someone that he truly loves.
Interesting, because she kind of has that desire for freedom as well, but they have very different views on how to get there. What an epic first couple of episodes you guys have. The Battle of the Gullet is absolutely insane. And I'm a sucker for a sea battle. So this was everything I wanted to see. So could you talk about the craziest day of filming the Battle of the Gullet?
Oh, wow, the craziest day. That's good because they were all crazy.
You were all mental.
But which one really stands out?
Lottie's going to love me for telling this story.
Oh, go on.
I'm going to tell him.
Yeah, go on.
There was a day where I was ill.
Yeah, that was a good day.
There was a day where I was pretty ill. It was a lot. There was a lot going on, and I was not feeling very well. And bless Lonnie, I love him to bits, and I say this with all love because I was in the trailer just thinking to myself, I can't do this. The medic was like, "Oh, you look rough. This isn't good. You need to get out." But obviously, this is such a huge sequence, and there's a lot of money and time, and a lot of people who've been taking their time to do this. Anyway, so and Emma, bless Emma, they're messaging me being like, "Go home. You need to go home." Anyway, cut to Lonnie knocking on the door, the director, and he was like, "Hey man, I heard you're not feeling very well." I'm like, "No man, I'm not good." And he sits down and he's like, "There's just this one scene I need to get you. It's just this one shot. I only need this one shot." I love it. I remember looking at him thinking to myself, "You're going to kill me, aren't you?"
I just told you I'm ill. The thing is, because in my head, I've got you wrapped up in a blanket like that, just going,
I can't do this.
and it was him going,
Like,
"I feel you, buddy, but just come out of
just
here.
one shot. So that, and I remember just getting on the boat thinking to myself, you know what, maybe I can use this.
As you're slashing, that's Lonnie, that's Lonnie. And you're Lonnie. Yeah. But yeah, I think on a sequence of, I don't know how many days, 50, 60 days, a lot of them are crazy. Certainly, I know when we got into this, for me, the second part of the scene is when I actually have the hand-to-hand with Lohar. All of that stuff was nuts because Abigail is just amazing and really doesn't give any quarter, man. She just really goes for it. So some of that stuff was just a joy to be involved with. Yeah, that and that time when they squirted the water cannon at me. It knocked me off my feet.
It knocked you off your feet,
Yeah.
and you had, again, you're supposed to look really, really cool in this show, right? But it's, again, when you've got water spraying at you and hitting you from one side, especially when seeing Steve get hit by this wave of water, I couldn't help but laugh and sort of think to myself, this is crazy. How are we doing this?
Because I thought it was going to be like a sprinkle, so that it would hit me in the face and I could sort of just that thing with the hair, like, oh my God. And no, it was like a jet.
Took you out.
Took me out completely. Yeah, that was crazy. Thanks, guys.
Is that the part when you're like knocked off the ship?
Yeah.
No,
before that.
No, this is way before.
Not even that?
At the beginning of the fight,
This is literally the beginning.
Yeah.
Like it was a
swine.
It was pretty epic. Yeah.
Not sexy.
And Steve, can you talk about filming that sword fight with Abigail a little more and how it felt to bring this like rivalry that we've only heard about, never seen, actually bring it to a climax?
I think it was great because, as I said, Abigail is terrific and really goes 100% for it. And we've been saying that one of the things about a fight scene is that you need to make sure that you have an emotional content to the fight. So every blow means something. Every blow has to be the last blow. Abigail has that in buckets. She's terrific. And so it was great to move the sort of gentle choreography that we've been working on in the gym onto this set with the rocking ship, with all the water and then the other corpses and other fighters getting in the way. It was tremendous. We haven't seen it yet, but I'm hoping if it's anything like it was in my imagination, it's going to be pretty good. And I literally just spoke to Abigail today, a couple of hours ago, and she's seen it and she's very pleased with it. So I think that all augurs well. Yeah, it was tough, but it was good.
I've seen it. It's one of my favorite Game of Thrones battles ever. Like,
wow, okay.
It's so good. It's so epic. It's so visually stunning. And Abu, to wrap up with you, does Alyn surprise himself when he calls Corlys father when he sees himself fall off the ship?
Absolutely. I think it comes from it, and I hope it does appear that way. I think it comes from almost like a primal, instinctual space. I think there is something for the whole of season 2, and for a lot of Alyn's life. The idea, Corlys was never a father to him, and there was no sense of fatherly sort of paternal element to that dynamic. But there's always been a craving and a wanting for it, and I think in the mix of the battle, or in the midst of the battle, and the sheer sort of violence of it all, it really brings out the human side. It brings out your real kind of primal needs, and I think that moment, seeing Corlys go, and it's almost like, again, your life flashing before your eyes. I think there Alyn realizes what he could lose and what he has lost in that moment, and that's where that father comes from. It's almost like a sense of it's almost like a living nightmare, and where you find yourself uncontrol. You cannot control what you're saying. So yeah, I think Alyn is surprised by that, and that just essentially drives the next action that you see with him and Lohar.
Congrats on this season. I am so obsessed with your character. It's such a cool. It's like their energy is just so cool, and
she's great, isn't she?
I'm so sad.
Yeah.
She's so great, and I'm so bummed this is her last stand.
Oh no, she's all killer, no filler. She doesn't hang around. She's just here to do the cool bits.
She's like, I don't care what's going on in Westeros. I'm killing this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Could you? Of course, I'm sure many of the days were crazy, if not all of them. But what was the craziest day filming Battle of the Gullet for you?
I think it was like day 3 of fighting Steve, because there was this moment where, because the ship really moves. It's on 20 gimbals, and then the water cannons are real, the fire is real. And so we were filming this fight with Steve, and I was on like day 3 of this, and I was thinking, I can't believe this is my job. Here I am on a pirate ship, sword fighting a beloved British actor, and like Steve met the king like 2 weeks before we filmed that, and I was just like, I'm here to fight this guy. It was so good.
Yeah, and what kind of stunt preparation went into this for you?
Oh, I trained in the gym for about 6 months between seasons. I put on a lot of muscle. And then I trained with the stunt team, boxing and sword fighting, who the stunt team are wonderful. And for the physicality, I took a lot of inspiration from Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, because there's a lot of female action stars who kind of like, they fight like gymnasts, like the kind of the high kicks, kind of Sailor Moon, like the panty shot high kick. And that's fine, I'm not knocking it, but I wanted Shariko's physicality in the battles to be, she hits like a hammer. And so like, she gets in low, she has a lot of muscle behind her. There's that moment where I stab a guy through the chest and the face. And like, it's kind of real Wolverine stuff. She's really getting in close and hitting hard, so yeah.
Can you talk about filming that sword fight with Steve Moore and how it felt to bring this off-screen rivalry to the screen for the first time, really?
Oh, I loved it. It was every day on season 3 was so much fun. But part of the fun of it is that Steve in person is so charming. And so is his stunt double, actually. Everyone is. But yeah, it was a real blast and a real laugh. There was some like fun challenges along the way, like the blood, the fake blood is full of sugar. And so there were a lot of wasps hanging around the set. So there's one moment where I'm hanging off something and then just out of shot, there's like a whole bunch of wasps in my face. So yeah, it was just great being on the boat. We all just had a fantastic laugh.
And then when, of course, Lohar hears Alyn say father when Corlys falls off the ship. So what does that change for her after that? She's like, oh, now I want to kill him because that's the son of the sea snake.
I think she, in that final fight with Alyn, she's like, I'm not going to let this guy take my victory from me, because this all for her is like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to kill Corlys, and then I'm going home and I'm done with this. And I had in my head, who's she going home to? What are the stakes for her? What does she want? And so in that final fight with Alyn, it's like, she's not going to take this away from me. And she's so determined that like she's not going to let this moment go.
And what did you envision for that future?
I don't have the power to make that canon, so I probably can't tell you. But I think she's certainly very focused on killing Corlys, and I think that would have been the end of her war. I don't think there would have been a long list of people after that.
Yeah, for sure. And then what was it like to film that scene with Abu, that final scene where you're being like plunged underwater so much?
It was tough because in the end, she's an unarmed, scared woman being strangled to death by a much larger man. And so it was a real delight as an actor to get to plan the emotional journey of that, because the script just says, they fight and she dies. And I got to decide the moments in the fight where she thinks she's winning, how she feels about that. The moments when she realizes she might lose, how she feels about that. And the moment when she realizes she is going to die and how she feels about that in the end. And I got to put all of that in her eyes, which is just such a treat as an actor. It really is. And everything came together. And even being in the ADR booth, after the filming and choosing the noises she makes as she's drowning and fighting for her life, and just crafting this beautifully rich story with all the bells and whistles and everything that goes into it, just cramming that all into a few seconds. It's such a delight as an actor. It's like part of why I love it.
Yeah, and to wrap up, what is she feeling that in those final moments?
I think in the final moment you can see it on her face that she's a woman who is scared. Like after Abu lifts her out of the water, and this was such a beautiful moment of serendipity with the makeup, all the blood and the grime and the smoke washes off her face. And she's washed clean in those final moments. And you see just the scared little girl who ran away from Lys all those years ago. And you see all of that in her eyes. Yeah, it was emotional. It was hard to film it also because it was my final scene. And so it was emotional, but it really came together well.
How has Gwayne's opinion of Criston changed since they first met, do you think?
Yeah, it's very complex and subtle, that change. I think it started with a preconception that he was going to loathe him and everything that he stood for, a kind of snobbishness really on Gwayne's part. And then quickly discovered that he was a man of some very strong, albeit occasionally misguided, principle, enormous loyalty, and skill as a warrior. And there's a certain admiration and comradeship that was born between them through real horror, the horror of the beginnings of a war and seeing Rook's Rest and dragons being unleashed really on humans for the first time the audiences would have seen in that way. And his canniness as a commander, albeit, leaving Gwayne in the dark about that. And so then came this sort of begrudging respect that could have, in a different version of events, turned into friendship, but it because of their different worldviews about how this war should be handled, and Gwayne's belief that there's light at the end of a tunnel, or could be light at the end of a tunnel, and Cole's belief that we're all going to die or be turned into monsters. That then, of course, the stags begin to butt heads as things progress.
What is Gwayne's relationship like with his cousin Aemond Hightower?
It's again complicated. One that is, I think, born of a childhood spent being very much with each other all the time, and being slightly often humiliated by Aemond. And yet it has an admiration for his intelligence. Aemond's intelligence is extraordinary. And yet, again, I think Gwayne feels being used for ill rather than good. And there is a common character who's about to arrive in the story that both Aemond and Gwayne share. And the desire to influence that new person, that young person, in two different directions is a force of conflict between those two. Yeah.
How was it creating this really kind of like odd couple dynamic between Larys and Aegon?
It's just kind of like building on what we had last season, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think I really enjoyed, my favourite parts of season 2 was the scenes with Tom. And it was just, I was really excited to get sort of stuck into it a bit more. I don't know. We just sort of, I think we were excited to see what happened, really.
Yeah, we were lucky that we got kind of the introduction to their relationship in season 2. So the foundations were already in place, and it was just kind of taking it on its next step, really. And we've been saying this a little bit today, where it feels like they become like a squabbling brotherly relationship. Two people on very opposite ends of the spectrum in every single way you can imagine, put together and forced to be together in close proximity for an extended period of time is always going to cause fractures and rub each other up the wrong way. But that's what makes for good drama and hopefully fun viewing for the audience.
Yeah.
Matthew, why does Larys think that Aegon is his best shot at power?
Because he was the king when he first started making moves on him, and he became quite close, I think, in season 2. And I think he's putting all of his eggs in the Aegon-shaped basket. And then, there's a horrific injury, and all that Larys knows is that this man is dead. So he then has to move on to someone else. And Aemond wasn't having it. And luckily, he finds out that there is still a little bit of life left in Aegon. So it is the only avenue he has. And I think he sees a bit of himself I think he sees quite a lot of himself in Aegon now. This, I don't want to say that like the runt of the litter, but someone whose brother was more impressive than him, physically more adept, didn't quite get the father's love. I think he sees a lot of himself in Aegon. So I think he's, if Aegon succeeds, he succeeds.
And Tom, do you think that Aegon sees any of those similarities himself?
Totally, yeah. I think it takes him some time, but and he's probably in denial for a lot of that time. But yeah, I feel that. But there's also a level of sort of complicity and trust that he finds in Larys pretty quickly, which he's not used to. So there is definitely similarities there, but it's so difficult to hone in on those when the differences are so stark. So it's trying to picking out the needle in the haystack. Yeah.
And do you think that Aegon is afraid of Aemond at this point?
I think he's yes, probably. Don't tell Ewan that. I feel like he feels like Aemond will stop at nothing to achieve what he wants to. He's living proof of the lengths that that Aemond would go to get what he wants. And if he's gone as far as he has gone already, that there's nothing to stop him going further. And Aegon is a sitting duck being sat in his bedroom in the Red Keep. I think hearing
Larys's pitch to vacate the area initially is hard for Aegon to hear, because he's starting to realise he's no longer in control, and he has to get out and save himself. But yeah, there's definitely a threat there, which just fuels his appetite for revenge, I think, as well.
And Tom, does Aegon even want to be king?
Yeah, he does now. I think I'm making an executive decision there. You've heard it here first. No, he does. I think he does now. He's had a taste of it. He knows what it feels like to have a purpose when he wakes up in the morning. He's never had that before, which is why his life of debauchery and kind of mischief has taken place. But having this purpose and having this responsibility, not only as a father, but as a leader, as a ruler, to have that then stripped away from you, you really do. You mourn that loss, and that's where we see him now. And you know, season 3 is all, for me, for Aegon's journey, is all about him working out what version of a man he wants to be, and being offered variations of different outcomes, and him having to choose a path, I guess, guided by characters like Larys and other people around him. So yeah, I think he does want it. And also, you know, there's an ego in there for him. There's a level of pride that's been hurt, that's been dented. And it's his mission now to pick up the pieces and stick something back together.
Your characters are all brought together by fate. How does each of them feel about being stuck together?
Yeah, they have been brought together by fate. Like, its circumstance has forced them to become closer than they would. What we all have in common is that no one else on the planet has shared our experience of being never expecting to fly a dragon, but due to their bastardy, now flies dragons. There's only the 3 of us, so no one understands what we're going through more than the 3 of us.
I think he was really pleased because he is so like verbose and irreverent that it's actually a breath of fresh air. Because most of the people I do not trust around me, but he'll say anything to anybody, which means I get to stand there while they respond and sort of work out who is actually trustworthy and who's dangerous within it. I think that I don't trust him because he's too goody two shoes. But actually, he does prove to be pretty honourable as well.
Can't please everybody. You're so
in a world
good.
where nobody's like trustworthy. Actually, we actually do start to recognise that we are a bit of a team.
You're so good, and you're so young, and you're so handsome.
Just don't leave him with your food.
And so ripped. Stunning on camera.
I also
a nice guy.
I think it's quite interesting as well because, as Tom was saying, no one's ever really experienced our perspectives. But in terms of also just the fear that you have to go to in order for a dragon to bond with you, that's a different fear for your life because you don't know if you're going to be dinner or you're going to be best friends in the next 2 seconds. So these are the only people that understand that fear. So that's underlining our whole, you know, friendship, our relationship. And also depending on each other for survival as well, because we haven't had as much time as everyone else with dragons to prep for battle. So the more there is of us, the better our chance of surviving any major attacks from any dragons. So we might not always be on the same page with each other, but we know we need each other.
We are forced to be a team.
Absolutely, yeah.